For the past 42 years, the Alton Towers resort has brought us some of the biggest, fastest and best rides and roller coasters in the world. Some for the thrill seekers and some not so much. But what is extra special about the UK's biggest theme park is that it is home to a bunch of firsts, which means that you couldn't, and in some cases still can't, find these attractions anywhere else in the UK, Europe and even the world. Alton Towers is even home to world record breaking roller coasters. In today's video, we're going to talk about these groundbreaking rides and attractions as we look at 8 times Alton Towers broke national and global records. So although we're mainly going to be talking about roller coasters in this video, the first one on this list is actually a restaurant. Now, the roller coaster restaurant may not be a world's first, but Alton Towers is home to the first in the UK. If you've never been to or heard of this restaurant before, it's very different from any other that you would have been to. Instead of your food being delivered to you by a waiter, food is delivered to you on a roller coaster track via gravity. How it works is you order on a tablet, which can be found at your table. You then send your order off to the kitchen, and then your order will be sent down the track straight to your table. Oh, and this includes drinks too, but don't worry, they are in sealed bottles. This restaurant chain currently has 8 locations across Europe and the Middle East, and as you can imagine, some are located in or near theme parks. It's by far one of the most unique restaurant experiences in the world, the only experience like it in the UK, so it's definitely worth checking out on your next trip to Alton Towers. 20 years ago, Alton Towers introduced us to AIR, which stood for Aerial Inversion Ride, the world's first B&M flying coaster. This coaster, located in the Forbidden Valley area of the park, was originally planned to open in 1998, which was just a few years after the other coaster in the area opened. If this was the case, then AIR would have been one of the first flying coasters in the world to operate, with the first only opening in 1997. Due to technological limitations, AIR opened a few years later in 2002. Now, if you've only taken a visit from 2016 onwards, then you'll know AIR as Galactica. AIR received modifications to the station building and of course the name. Along with that, each seat on the coaster was fitted with virtual reality headsets, which was an optional experience. Just 2 years later, during the 2018 season, the virtual reality headsets were reduced to just the back 3 rows, but then when the 2019 season began, the headsets were removed completely due to guest feedback, and the VR has never been seen since. However, the name Galactica has stayed the same. The VR experience wasn't really needed, and I'm personally glad that they got rid of it, but it just goes to show that Alton Towers love trying new things, even if they aren't always successful. Even with this failed attempt at an update, Galactica will always be a world's first, and a really fun coaster too. So now let's move on to one of the most intimidating coasters across the whole of Alton Towers, the classic 1998 B&M dive coaster, Oblivion. With maximum speeds close to 70 miles per hour, this makes Oblivion the 3rd fastest roller coaster in the UK. But being the 3rd fastest isn't the only title this ride holds. Oblivion is in fact not just a UK first or a Europe first, Oblivion is a world's first, being the first ever vertical drop roller coaster. Now, with an angle of 87.5 degrees, it's just slightly off vertical, but in 1998 there was no other coaster out there like it. And even 24 years later, it's still one of the best, scariest and most forceful of its kind in the world. At the time of recording this video, there are now 14 dive coasters out there in the world, with 2 currently under construction, scheduled to open this year. Along with that, there's plenty of roller coasters out there now with vertical drops. So although Oblivion may not be as unique as it once was, it is still a fantastic coaster and will always go down as the world's first. Formerly known as the Queen of Speed, this launched coaster designed by Intamin can be found in the Dark Forest section of the park. This coaster held the title at one point, well, for 1 year to be exact, as the fastest launch coaster in the UK, going from 0 to 61 miles per hour in just 2.5 seconds. But this isn't the main reason it makes the list. Rita was actually a first of its kind in the whole of Europe, as it was the first hydraulic launch coaster to be built here. Now, Rita may not be the fastest in the world, Europe, or even the UK, but that launch still packs a punch, and it still accelerates you down that track faster than an actual race car. Being the 5th fastest coaster in the UK, it's still one for the thrill seekers. Rita will be turning 20 years old in just a few years' time, so it's interesting to see what the future of this ride holds. In 2009, the Queen of Speed name and the overall theme of the ride was changed to fit in with the new Dark Forest area. Who knows, we may see some more changes to this ride in the future, we'll just have to wait and see. But while we're on the topic of Intamin, let's take a look at another coaster made by the manufacturers, which is also located in the Dark Forest, and has a world's first element. In 2008, the classic roller coaster corkscrew was removed from Alton Towers, and in its place, a brand new world's first coaster was built. The previous area Ugland had been rethemed to the new area we spoke about just a minute ago, the Dark Forest, and this would now be the home to a spooky themed roller coaster named 13. Overall, 13 isn't that scary, it has a pretty short ride time and it isn't very intense at all for the first part. The theming is great in parts and the airtime you get on it is great, but this coaster is nowhere near as intense as some of the other rides in the park. But it's when you enter the second part of that ride experience that you encounter something very special. Now, if you've never ridden this coaster before and you plan on riding it at some point in the future, then please skip ahead now because I don't want to ruin anything. But back in 2010, 13 was the world's first vertical drop roller coaster. Now, the drop isn't anything massive, in fact it's only 5 feet, but even 12 years on and after so many rides on it, I still get a little bit nervous when I enter that dark room with a drop section. And then after you drop, you also go backwards for the remainder of the ride, mainly consisting of a backwards helix which is really disorientating. Although 13 may not be the most fastest coaster or the most intense coaster in the park, it's still one of my personal favourites and one of the most unique coasters in the world. So this next coaster holds 2 titles. I couldn't pick just the one because they're both as unique as the other. The Wicker Man is Alton Towers' most recent coaster, opening back in 2018. Now I don't know about you, but I feel like this coaster has been open so much longer than 4 years. I love this ride so much, everything from the theming, to the smells, to the ride experience itself. If you've never had a chance to check out Wicker Man before, then I would definitely recommend it. But anyway, first let's talk about the fact that the Wicker Man was the first wooden coaster to be built in the UK in over 20 years. New wooden roller coasters have become more rare as the years have gone on, the peak being before the 21st century, but since then they have died off, and for obvious reasons. You can build much more impressive roller coasters with steel. In 2001 we saw the launch of Rocky Mountain Construction, so instead of new wooden coasters, we have seen an increase of hybrid roller coasters which mix wood and steel. So this is why we haven't seen many wooden roller coasters in recent times, especially in the UK. That was until Wicker Man. Coaster enthusiasts had been after a new wooden coaster in the UK for many years. These are usually more rough and don't feature any inversions, but they do provide that classic roller coaster experience. So in 2018, Alton Towers finally gave the enthusiasts what they wanted, but of course they had to make it appealing. With other thrilling rides in the park, they had to make this new wooden roller coaster really stand out. And that's when we bring in the next world's first for the park. The Wicker Man is the first coaster in the whole world to infuse wood with fire. This of course sounds very dangerous, but it's of course done in a very safe way. Although most of the ride is made of wood, parts of the Wicker Man structure which is around the fire isn't made of wood at all. These parts are made of steel. But even so, this is still really impressive and another world's first to add to Alton Towers' collection. The ride itself can be rough at times, but I still find it pretty intense, especially when you're hurtling towards that huge Wicker Man structure lit up with flames. So although wooden coasters are nothing new, the Wicker Man is very unique, and my personal favourite coaster at Alton Towers. Next up, let's talk about one of the most intense coasters that you will ever go on in your life. It is a fan favourite, a classic, an all-round great ride. Let's talk about Nemesis. This coaster may not have a world's first element, but it was the first inverted coaster to be built in Europe. This B&M invert opened in 1994, and after almost 30 years of operating, it is still going strong to this day. We spoke about 13 earlier. Now this coaster, it features the freefall drop, but the overall coaster is nowhere near as intense or as fast as Nemesis. It's a great ride, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it'll ever be seen as a classic in years to come, the same way that we see Nemesis. And 13 cost £5 million more to build. So it goes to show that even though the park has plenty of these world first elements, you don't always need them to create a great coaster. Since 1994, there have been plenty more B&M inverted coasters, but Nemesis will always be special to a lot of people, and is still one of the most intense out there. It was announced recently that this classic will be receiving a retrack. Now I won't go into too much detail about this, but the good news from this is that by doing this retrack, it's likely we'll see Nemesis dominating the Forbidden Valley for plenty more years to come. Finally, let's talk about another world's first, another fan favourite attraction, the Smiler. Now, the Smiler opened in 2013 at the park, and it is the only current world record holder in the whole park. If you don't enjoy coasters which take you upside down, then the Smiler is definitely not for you, because this infinity coaster has 14 inversions. The coaster which was in the Smiler's place previously was the Black Hole, and this closed in 2005. So between 2005 and 2012, the Black Hole tent was just kinda sat there not doing much at all, other than being the home to some Scarefest mazes. But as soon as construction began in 2012 for this new world record breaking coaster, I can honestly say that this was the best marketing campaign I have ever seen for a theme park ride. In the lead up to announcements, the Smiler logo was stenciled across the park, on billboards across the UK, projected onto Big Ben in London, and even onto flocks of sheep. Subliminal messaging was placed across the Alton Towers website, and before the coaster opened, there was also a scare maze featured at their Scarefest event, which was called The Sanctuary. Finally, in January 2013, the name The Smiler was revealed, and in April 2013, it was revealed that this coaster would feature the record-breaking 14 inversions. Following this, a 3D mobile game was also released. Honestly, it was one of the best advertising campaigns I've ever seen, and another reason why this coaster is so special. The Smiler is one of the best roller coasters in the world. Honestly, there's no experience out there like it. And if you're brave enough to face those 14 inversions, then I would definitely recommend checking it out on your visit to Alton Towers. With all these UK, Europe and world's first, it's pretty clear to see that Alton Towers is one of the most innovative and pioneering theme parks in the whole world. Almost every coaster in the park includes a UK, Europe or world's first, and I'm sure at some point in the future we'll see even more record-breaking rides appear at the park. Have you ever experienced these groundbreaking attractions? Which is your favourite? Let me know down in the comments below. But that is it for this video. If you did enjoy watching, then please hit that like button to let me know. And of course, if you're new around here and you're feeling extra cheeky, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single thing, because we make plenty of theme park and adventure videos here at Acadia Adventures, which you don't want to miss. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one.